this line of thinking is the key and the only thing that matters in unlocking any viability, any possibility of Tom Brady, the Niners, of Garoppolo being on the move. It is only about this. What does Kyle Shanahan really think of his quarterback? Because I feel like we have decent pieces of circumstantial evidence that he don't love him. Now, the evidence we have that he loves him is the contract they gave him after they traded for him. They didn't trade a ton for him, by the way, second-round pick, but then they gave him a massive contract. But the way he called games in the playoff run and the way Garoppolo performed in the highest leverage moments a quarterback can face, trying to ice a Super Bowl, and then after the lead was blown, on the drive, 1st and 10, midfield, 2 minutes left, got some timeouts, go win the game down 4, missing that throw, having balls batted down, having the drive end in a pick. Those things make, to me, if I were Kyle Shanahan, I would say I can do better. I know I can do better. If with this tight end, with this running game, with this offensive line, with this defense, my quarterback had a good but not a great year, what is he going to do when we have bad injury luck throughout a season, not just at moments in the middle of the season? What is he going to do if George Kittle regresses from the best all-around tight end in football to a good but not great tight end? What is he going to do if teams start to kind of catch up to my decided schematic advantage as far as play design? Those would be my concerns. And if Shanahan feels the same way, Coach, that's the only way you move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. That's the only way there's a spot open for Tom Brady. So to me, that's the key that unlocks any of this being a possibility.
Well, there's a couple things here. In terms of seeing how he responds in those biggest moments, that's part of the evaluation that you do. But it's not like you're going to know how other guys that you bring in are going to respond in those moments because they haven't had that opportunity. So that works both for and against someone. Part of being a coach and part of the reason you have a C on your chest is because you're supposed to be able to develop guys. So there's an assumption that if you go and you invest that much money into a player, you believe in the things that he can do, and you also believe that your coaching can make a player better. So if he believes that no matter how much work he does with this guy, he's only going to be at a certain level, then yeah, that makes sense that they would be looking to move on. But there's accountability on both sides of the table here. I do think Jimmy G has that make something happen element to him, and I've talked about this a lot, where he'll make something happen for you, good, or he can make something happen for your opponent, good. And that
what do you mean, just interceptions? Or
well,
just...
make something happen guys are guys that are going to run around and take chances and throw across their body, and sometimes it's great and it works out and they get an attaboy, and sometimes they throw a pick and you're like, why would you ever throw that ball? But you can't have it both ways. You can't be happy when it works out and unhappy when it doesn't.
So is it like a Favre-esque thing that you're seeing?
Yeah.
Like when you coach Favre.
You can classify guys in categories, and the make something happen guys, are going to give you 1 or 2 opportunities a game for a turnover because of the decisions they make.
But so
now, they make some great plays.
But the reward
But in that bucket, I'm sorry to interrupt, I apologize, Jenna. In that bucket, like the upper bound of the best version of it is Favre. The worst version of it is Jameis. He's probably not the worst version, but those are.
I mean,
so
Jameis Fitzpatrick is a make.
Fitzpatrick, Jay Cutler was one of these guys, and so and then there's the more just in a totally different bucket is Teddy Bridgewater, right? And I would say the upper bound of that style quarterback's Tom Brady. Right? I'm gonna be conservative at times almost to a fault, but we're not going to lose the game because I made a mistake. But the further bound on the other end of that are the quarterbacks you see. It's like, man, if you're in 3rd and 12, the game's over. Like you can't make that throw.
But in fairness to Garoppolo now, he comes from a system that doesn't have a lot of shifting and motioning, and there is pre-snap information, and that you can come up to the line of scrimmage and evaluate what's happened and make decisions. And you put him in a system where there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of shifting motion, and the defense is moving, it's much harder to process. So there are roles and responsibilities for each side of this before you just kill the quarterback and say his ceiling is what his ceiling is.
I didn't love that.
You didn't love it. Why?
I don't like the past tense. It's the first time you've ever heard Brady, besides our last game.
I was going to say, you heard it a little bit in the press
loss
conference
against the
after
Titans.
the Titans.
We started to hear, this was great. He started to separate himself and refer to him like the team and not us. And I heard it again. I said, eek, this didn't feel like he's coming back. But I might be reading too much into an Instagram live call with UFC president Dana White as my news source.
Nick says he's got bad friends.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't believe Dana White does this to him, by the way. I can't believe he does
Patriot
this to him.
fan Dana White.
Well, not
by the way.
anymore.
No,
Patriot fan
Raider.
recruiting him to the Raiders. But
Yeah, I think when you reach a certain age, every year you got, as you finish up the year, you're going to appreciate the moments you had, and there is no guarantee that you're going to be back. Do I think that it's a done deal, and that this one phone call? Look, Bill on the phone. It's not like laughs and giggles and it's
the
just
phone
gonna
call you're
flow.
talking about is not the one with Dana White. You're talking about the conversation
I'm just saying,
with
like
Belichick.
all the elements of today versus yesterday, I don't think changes things dramatically one way or the other. I do think he should go on vacation with his family and spend some of that mattress money and relax for a little while.
That's right.
You know?
Why is Tom Brady on the phone with Belichick? Period. Like,
Because
isn't that
his
something
boss.
your
It's
no? But
the guy
isn't that
he
something your
works for.
agent does? If we're talking contracts.
Not necessarily. After that much, he's still under contract, still with the team. There could be,
Plus,
a
they
lot
have a
of
different
reasons.
relationship than probably
Yeah,
any.
I'm sure you get on the phone with Robert or anybody in the organization. If he has a question, who better to talk to than Bill? He knows Bill's going to make the decision.
Okay.
Yes.
And Tom's going to make the decision.
Go ahead, Jen.
What about this conversation specifically, the Dana White one? And we can get to the Belichick-Brady one, which reportedly they had earlier this week. Did this conversation bother you?
It bothered me on Brady's behalf. Like, now maybe Brady said, yeah, I'll come on your Instagram Live and you can ask me about my future. And if he did that, then it's another piece of evidence that Brady is understandably enjoying the attention. But that sounded to me like a guy who did not expect to all of a sudden be being essentially interviewed by a friend for public consumption. And that, to me, it's just a terrible thing to do to a buddy. I said,
You don't know that. He goes, hey, can I put you on Instagram Live? Sure.
okay, well, if he signed up for it, then nobody can argue anymore that Brady doesn't like the attention.
Gosh darn it, you got both sides. Of this.
Well, I mean,
I can't imagine he signed up.
Okay, well, in that
It's
case,
like the basketball game where he's put on the spot. Like it's the same thing. If he wanted to talk about it, he'd talk about it.
okay, fair. But then we're in agreement on this. Then it's a bad job by Dana White. I like Dana White, but that's a bad job by him to do that to your buddy. To put him on the spot like that, he doesn't know he's going to be having to answer questions. He has to instantly transition to stayed quarterback mode.
I would have loved it if it was a Patriots recruiter.
Oh, if he was
Dana
saying,
was like, come back to the Patriots. And when he started talking about the Raiders, I said, what?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.